It's the Friday morning chat with Justin from Elevation Homes. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
Doing great. Last week, we got into this conversation about like cabanas that people kind of build at the back of their houses, like a little one room structure that they have their TV in. It's like, I don't know what it becomes. I don't even know what to call them anymore. But we got talking about those. And like you're saying, everybody's putting hydro and heat and like, walk me through this. Like, permits? I mean, what the
So,
hell? Like, can you just build
oh
these
yeah,
things?
no, I mean we do them a lot. I mean, we do them in a lot. I guess in conjunction with like pools, and if we do a backyard escapes and that sort of thing. But a lot of people, I mean, a lot of customers, they just build them to have that little that little getaway away from the house. It perked up during COVID quite a bit, but I mean, I was doing them. I've been doing these since I was 17 years old for people, kind of thing. But yeah, they have a whole bunch of categories. Some of them are borderline tiny houses, but they're bunkies, cabins, man caves, she sheds. Like, I mean, there's a million names for them, but I mean, up to in most municipalities, and it'll vary between about 108 square feet and 112 square feet. But I mean that footprint is you can just throw up. I mean, you don't need to get a permit. You don't need. I mean, these are auxiliary structures that fall underneath underneath the legal limit to apply for permit. And yes, obviously they do need to be done in a way that is still structurally sound and complies with the building code, but they don't actually fall under the building code because they're not big enough.
And we were talking about some folks put electricity to it. I mean, obviously, you got to get a permit for that on any
Yeah,
size,
if
don't
you
you?
yeah
I don't
if
know.
you start running power out there, you do have to get a electrical safety authority permit, so an ESA permit on those, which any electrician can pull for you. But because I mean, yeah, at that point you're running an underground line, at least a 40 amp circuit out to power this thing up, and that needs to be done correctly. The trench needs to be deep enough, so on and so, especially in like density areas and subdivisions, stuff like that, because there's so many people that run through these houses over the years. It has to be registered that there's a high voltage line under.
Wow.
um you know doing it off the books is certainly, we see it quite often. But I mean, when you sell that house and that dude does not know that that is there, and you've only done it a foot underground, I mean, he's getting a pretty good shock when he hits it, kind of thing, right?
Wow. So tell me a little bit about some of the unique ones you've seen. Like, I'm sure there's been some stuff you went, okay, we can put that in
Yep,
there. Like,
yeah.
is it, do you see
Lots
those
of
things?
lots of gyms, gyms and yoga
Okay.
studios a lot. We've done a couple actually art studios. And these are like, they're not only like little workspaces or gym spaces or whatnot. They A lot of people will do a little day bed out there for the summertime. Just place to read, place to work on the laptop away from everywhere else. And I mean, I know many families that actually have a a bunky schedule because they all want to be out there away from the damn house. And they have a schedule like, this person gets it Monday, this person gets it Tuesday, and they can go out there and do their thing for the day. But yeah, we and the I mean, the other thing is, we a lot of times we will take a backyard garage or an existing garage, and we'll actually divide that and create the same thing on the backside of a garage with a separate door. It's a bit of a
Oh,
live workspace, live play space. And then there's the ones that are purely a cabana, which is basically a part of the outdoor space. And these house like outdoor kitchens, saunas, change rooms for pools. I mean, and the great thing about those is they can always be converted down the line into an interior space.
is that going to help your home
Oh, I
value?
know.
Like, is it one of those things that
Yeah,
really helps? Yeah.
it's weird. It's not far under the kitchens and bath scenario to have one of those things. And what's crazy is they're generally half the price. And people are almost more inclined if they have that little extra space, whether it be, you know, because honestly, I mean, it's not illegal to have a little guest house out there as long as they're not, it's not a residence, right? So, I mean, you have
I
friends
gotcha.
over and you have a little wall heater out there. I mean, we've built, I can't tell you how many of these we've built in Turkey Point. Like, I mean, all sorts of them. And you have friends over and, like, you know, there's no plumbing or anything like that. But at the end of the day, they're coming in for that stuff. But I mean, you know, come 11 o'clock at night, they can go and do their own thing out there and it does not have to be part of the main house.
It's probably, is it cheaper? I guess it depends on the scenario, but I mean, if you were building onto your house, you're going to build onto your house, build another room. This almost seems
Oh,
cheaper.
it's yeah, it's way cheaper. For one, you know, if it's attached to the house in any way, shape, or form, it's an addition, and that then it's a full permit. You need, you know, a proper foundation, all that kind of stuff. When it's a shed, and it's got its own weight, and that's why, you know, things kind of stay under that 108 square feet mark, square foot mark, I should say. I mean, basically, you know, a nice 5 inch slab is a good enough footing for that thing to sit on, because again, you're not living in it. It's non a non-habitable space. Although, people do stay in these things for a couple of days at a time, which, there's nothing wrong with that, because there's nothing wrong with staying in a tent, and there's nothing wrong with staying in a motorhome in your backyard. But it's the same idea. It's just you can make them far more comfortable, and we've done these things, for as little as $7,000-8,000, and then we've done some crazy ones that are 25-30 grand. But I mean, they're pretty luxury. I mean, they got all the bells and whistles, internet, day bed in the corner, loft space, everything but the kitchen sink, basically. Right?
Wow. It's I'm kind of chuckling because I'm thinking of my great grandfather's old work shed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was probably the
Yeah.
right
Oh, yeah.
size, like that he had out there. And you're just like, wow, who knew? Maybe he was like, napping out
Yeah.
there.
But
Maybe, I don't know.
all those old single car garages are a great, and a lot of people just they're not garages, they just store junk in them. But you
Right.
get rid of a bit of the junk, clear out a 10 by 12 area, which is generally the back of one of these things. We pop a door in the side, you keep the storage in the front, and you
Yeah.
create these. I don't know. I'm actually going to a customer's today that we built. We did that exact format. It's not for, we're going to grade his front grass, but no, we converted the back half of his garage, and that is his permanent office. And he puts on his suit and tie, walks out the door,
Yeah.
walks through the backyard, and walks in there and gets on his calls just as if he's going downtown Toronto. He's like, he's completely obsessed with it, like to the point where he doesn't come out, right? So I mean, it really suits him, and he loves it because it's still away. He still does mentally the process of going to work. It just so happens that it's only 3 minutes from his doorstep.
Just saves a lot of money
Oh,
on
100%.
mileage.
Cars never.
And yeah, yeah, I get to work from home. I'm pretty lucky with what I do. And just, it kind of amazed me when you and I got into this conversation, because I could totally understand how you'd want a separate entity to do
Yep.
that, right? With off the house, the dogs, the kids, the whole bit, right? You want something that's yours and you can keep in that space, the space, the workspace, mentally
Yeah, no,
workspace.
it's and
Yeah.
it's
See,
it's crazy what it does to your brain, because I mean, it's not, it doesn't mean that you have to drive an hour and a half to work, or it doesn't mean that you have to go 2 hours to Muskoka or whatever. A lot of the times, I mean, just this action of going back there, um, will actually trick us into the same environment, and it'll chill you right out. And if you create that space, and again, these are things, like these spaces can be done and decorated from dollar store and Winners and things like that. And then there we've done some really serene, like, spaces, yoga, especially the yoga studios, and we do the speakers in the ceilings and all that kind of. I mean, it is some, like, pretty inexpensively. I had a lady, a naturopath, that, like, she literally bought a dollar store fountain, um, which they sell, and you put 3 cups of water in the bottom, and she had her little day bed. She got a bunch of ferns and palms and stuff like that. We did the overhead speakers, which were Bluetooth. And honest to God, you went in there and we put some big windows in the front. She had a wooded back line, and it was as good as any spa I have ever any, but that I've ever taken my wife to. Um, I just let the cat out of the bag there. I'm not a spa guy, but you know what I mean. It was really out of this world. Like I wanted when we were done it, I just like let me just sit here for 1 minute. Yeah.
Just take this in. Give me an update on the homes.
So we're you guys better hurry up because I'm telling you the things are really starting to pick up on these ones. We're getting some action. They are all three are still available, but we have some heavy showings going on in our Brantford location at Oak Hill. Angling Road is going to be the most fantastic country home you've ever seen. it, it's
That's in the Waterford
coming
area,
together,
folks.
right?
Yeah, that's a Waterford area
Yeah,
home too. So it's right in that, right
yeah.
in the area.
This is literally 3 minutes from town, but you have a 1.1 acre wooded lot with a stream, and I keep on my Instagram at Elevation Home Design. I keep I'm out there meeting trades and stuff like that, and we're out there working basically at sunrise, and it's that same thing I was just talking about the yoga studio. Like I step out this back door and the only thing I hear, well, I mean, you hear a yard car, but the only thing that I hear is the neighbor's rooster, and it is freaking unbelievable. Like, I mean, it's just one of those things where, if you need to to de-stress your life, I mean, 7 o'clock in the morning there, you cannot beat it. I mean, it's just the same as a cottage. Yes, angling gets a little bit of traffic at between the 8:30 and 9:30 mark, but other than that, it's actually a fairly quiet road. And
Great.
and
Yeah.
and our one behind Lime Ridge Mall in Hamilton, the Craftsman House that we're doing there is we're actually installing the kitchen today. So it is on the home stretch. Super affordable price, pool, granny suite in the basement. I mean, it's another one of those things that if you're in that area or you need to move to that area, that one's going to be a real. I don't know the actual price yet, so I can't say it, but I know it's fairly reasonable as far as that market goes, and that's a super cool 1960s kind of old growth neighborhood. Bunch of the houses have been redone there already, and obviously ours now. And man, just I mean, inner city, same thing. Like for something that's there, not quite inner city, but on the mountain. Um, and I haven't spent a whole lot of time in these neighborhoods in Hamilton, but it's same thing. I'm really impressed with like for that proximity to the highway, Lime Ridge Mall, all that kind of stuff. Really nice, quiet, like family raising type neighborhood. Everybody is fantastic. I mean, most of the time we get a lot of buzz about when we start renovating a house in a kind of an old growth neighborhood, and these people are just like coming out. We're walking them through. They're like they can't believe what's going on, and they're actually liking watching the progress of their neighborhood get updated versus shutting it down, which is what we normally do.
That's cool. It's nice to have that effect too, right? To know you're going into a community, restructuring a house and
Yeah,
making sure that, it feels like that community. I think that's critical, especially these days, right? I mean, we apparently we have a housing
right.
shortage. So anytime you can take something and reuse it, repurpose it, I think that's
Oh
great.
yeah,
I think that's what we
and
should be doing.
that's
But
what and that's what people need to realize. I mean, there's a lot of stigma about the house flipping and investment property and the rehab market that we're just like we're doing garbage houses and throwing them up for huge money. I mean that might be the case with a few guys, but a vast majority of contractors or investors that are doing or contracting these houses to be done. Um, I mean, we're doing them to improve neighborhoods. I mean, we call them rehabs because they're not really flips. I mean, we're rehabilitating a house so that the neighborhood will grow around it. And I've always been the one. Um, I go into a neighborhood, we drive around before we even buy a house. We drive around and we see, we look at the style, we look at what's going on there, the people that are standing out front, and then we go to, obviously we make the offer. If we get the house, then we go to work with the, okay, like what is going to fit in this neighborhood that is, going to appease everybody and appease the new buyer and not disrupt the flow of what is already going on here. So the doing
You're not building. You're not putting a mammoth
well,
house in this little lot. What you're doing is taking that footprint
yeah,
and
and
using
it's
it,
and this
right?
neighborhood is not one of those. I mean, the 1960s Oakville areas that they, it's inevitable. Those ones are all coming down and they're all going to go to luxury, right? But this one is not. I mean, like, there might be some slightly larger homes, but this is not one of those zones. So, this fits in great, and I think that's why everybody is pumped about it, because it's new, but it fits right in. I mean, it doesn't look any different. It doesn't stand out of place. We didn't build something that's crazy modern with robots hanging off it and stuff like. And and it's the same thing when we do, like, I'm not privy to building stuff that's too out there in a far, like out here in Norfolk. I mean, they're, it's farmland. So every time we do a house here, it's a farmhouse, a craftsman, I've not, I mean, I've seen these modern ones around, and I love them. But I mean, I just, I try to build them to fit back into the setting, and it seems to go over better with the locals when you kind of, fit back into that farmhand, because I mean, there's a heritage here that they want to try to keep too, and it may or may not involve a super modern, you know, gizmos and gadgets type house, which I mean, which we do, which I mean, Oak Hill is that, right? Oak Hill is a
Yeah.
is a Florida modern home, but on that street, I think that street needed a little pizzazz,
This is sort of a lead
Sure.
in for next week because I want to get you thinking about this. Um, I was replacing deck boards a while back, and one thing I noticed was this was an older deck. The thickness, lumber has changed so much. Like when you're tearing apart a home, you got half a
Yeah.
wall you got to replace. Suddenly, the 2x4s aren't as thick
Yeah.
as they used to be. How the hell do you guys
We,
line everything up? I was looking at this nightmare, going, do I start shimming? What do I do? Do I just tear it all out?
it's not fun, and I mean, and we're almost always fighting plaster and lath, or gypsum and lath, or gypsum and concrete and then plaster, or I mean, always we're fighting a potential 5/8 to 1 inch thick wall, and then we're putting half-inch drywall on it. Yeah, the decking. If you have a 1980s pressure treat deck and you're trying to patch, cannot be done. Not smoothly, right?
No.
So because our dimensional lumber now has been slimmed so much away from the actual sizing because of forestry issues, that it's just not, it's not feasible to blend these things. So yes, you are correct. I mean, shimming is a big part of it. So we will put backer on the substrate so that our finished board is out at that level. When it
Okay.
comes to drywall, that's usually the hardest one because it's over a large span or whatever. So,
Yeah, you don't want the
well, no,
wave, eh?
it happens, but I mean, the better, and that's why we're real picky about the guys that do mud and tape for us, because they have to have experience in these blends. I mean, I don't new construction tapers, they're great for that, but great in a reno or a
Right.
rehab format because they don't know how to blend, they don't know how to tape the two surfaces together so that they don't split, because they're expanding at completely different rates, right? And that's a huge thing. I mean, I can usually tell when they've done a terrible job at the blend, because not only will you see the wave, but you'll see the split where the plaster's cold and the drywall's hot. Um, but yeah, decking and wood products and that sort of stuff. I mean, that's it's exactly what it is. We got, my whole shop is full of 16th, 1/8, quarter, 3/8 board that we rip, and I have them ripped all the time because we use them for flooring shit, like all. and
Yeah.
and we'll so we strip down a house, and if we're stripping that half of the wall, all those studs get furred out by whatever distance we're off by, and then we generally apply the board on top of that, and we can end up pretty like just like it was. But it's harder when you have to go back, when you have to reduce.
It's almost like you want to tear the whole
Well,
wall out
yeah,
and redo it. It's probably
like
cheaper.
we'll have to, if we have to reduce, we just strip the whole thing, and then we can reboard at that. But sometimes, but sometimes you're dealing with plaster crowns that people want to keep, cove moldings, swirled ceilings, and a lot of the time you got to cut that cove right at the cove molding and then bring new board up to it, and it's like way behind. So yeah, there's a million tricks, honestly, Dave, but I mean, it's when it comes down to it, it's usually just build out. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Elevation Homes, Justin, thanks for doing this. The number will be below on the screen, folks. Give him a call. Check out his places. Need some renovations. Want a little cabana built? He's your guy.
Thanks.
Thanks for doing this.